Bench Opinions. Three idiots with amateur analysis.
All right. Fußball. Welcome back to another episode of Bench Opinions. We're talking about football today. We're going to talk about the Europa League final coming up. We're going to talk about Crystal Palace winning the FA Cup. We're going to talk about Goodison Park. And
that's it, I
think that's enough.
Yeah.
Anything else? Your team got pipped to the second Bundesliga there by Cologne on the last day. It seemed like, it'll be in every season, but over the last 2 weeks, with Liverpool winning, Crystal Palace winning, some teams going up, some teams going down, there's a lot of cool videos and pictures going around on social media with a lot of emotion.
Yeah. Crazy scenes after Hamburg went up. I'm not surprised that we didn't go across the line. We also had a bit of a strange away game in Greuther Fürth, with Fürth needing points to stay up. Yeah. So it was always going to be tough. And I think also at the end of the day, it's relatively symbolic, the title in the second Bundesliga.
Yeah, it is. Cologne clinching that other automatic promotion spot, with Elversberg now going up against Heidenheim?
Yeah.
In the relegation playoff?
Exactly. And a lot of people hating on Elversberg because it's a nothing team, and they're going to, according to them, not going to add any value to the Bundesliga whatsoever. They're very, very, very eagerly building on their stadium because the stadium would not currently be first Bundesliga ready.
Yeah.
So strange. And it's a fight that we've spoken about in the German football pyramid before. So if they do get promoted, that's a bit of an eyesore, unfortunately.
Premier League promotion playoff. Sunderland's up there.
Yeah. Sunderland are playing Sheffield. So two very historic Premier League clubs, historically anyway. So let's see what happens there. I would love it for Sunderland, to be honest. Sheffield have bounced back and forth between the leagues the last couple of years, and Sunderland would be insane. So let's hope that they get it across the line.
The big news from the weekend, from an English perspective, is Crystal Palace beating City 1-0 in the FA Cup final.
Beautiful stuff.
So good.
And I think Man City aside, and the feelings one has there towards, or I think a lot of sort of the neutrals have towards Man City, incredible for Crystal Palace.
So good.
I don't think they've ever won anything really of any.
They've never won the FA Cup. I think they've won trophies before.
Yeah.
They lost 2 finals in recent history. So really good for them to get over the line. I really like their coach. They've got a good team going with some really promising youngsters. And this gets them into Europe.
Yeah, and if you think back, I think 2000, as recently as 2008, the club went into administration. Yeah. So incredible that Steve Parish has been able to build something insane. And they just have this ability to, again, they do what a lot of badly run clubs like United don't do. They just make players better.
Yeah.
And they either keep them for long enough. I mean, how they kept Zaha for so long is anybody's guess.
Yeah.
Let's see. There'll be some personnel changes, but qualification for Europe, which means someone like Eze, if he doesn't maybe get the big move he wants, might decide to stay.
Another season. European nights at Crystal Palace is going to be is fantastic. I think that and Fulham are, to me, like two of the nicest clubs in the Premier League when it comes to sort of not. I've got nothing bad to say about them.
Yeah. Selhurst Park is definitely renowned for an amazing atmosphere and good fans. So
would be good to go to Selhurst Park one day.
It would.
Craven Cottage.
Yeah.
Man City not winning a single title for the first time since I think 2017. I don't know if an FA Cup would have made City's season better or worse, but it is noticeable or notable.
Yeah, dotting the I's and crossing the T's on what has been a terrible season for them by their high standards. Something has to be said about Pep's behavior. He had to go. So he had a stopwatch out towards the end of the game, and like in the ears of the fourth official, like essentially begging for added time. They ended up getting 10 minutes, which a lot of people thought was just ridiculous anyway. And then Dean Henderson at the end of the game,
chirping him.
Went over and said, "You got 10 minutes, mate. You got 10 minutes."
Yeah. And he sort of flipped his lid a little bit, and it's typical when any team loses a big game like that, the manager sort of grasps at straws. There were some interesting decisions in that final. I know there were some people who were upset that Henderson didn't get sent off for handing the ball outside his box.
Yeah.
VAR definitely copping some critique in that game. But I think for a neutral football fan, Crystal Palace winning was definitely the best option, best outcome.
Yeah, and good. I think it's important to keep this competitive edge that's within English football.
Yeah.
The fact that different team, the 2 cups being won by Newcastle and Crystal Palace this year.
Yeah.
Which is super refreshing.
Great. It's
and
good for the English football.
Exactly, and keeps things interesting. So hopefully Palace can keep hold of Glasner, because there's some sharks circling, particularly the Red Bull
Teams
for Leipzig. So let's see.
One last comment quickly on top 4 qualification in the Premier League, just because it's really tight from 3rd to 6th place. Man City, Chelsea, Villa, Newcastle, and Nottingham Forest.
And City have some serious work to do, because City have a game in hand now during the midweek, but they're out of it at the moment. If they don't get points,
they're out of it.
That could be very interesting.
And they've got 2 challenging games. They're playing Bournemouth and they're playing Fulham, which are by no means guaranteed wins. I was actually thinking about them probably getting only 4 points out of those 2 games if they do well, because they're also going to be down after losing the FA Cup now.
Yeah.
But there's some teams that I think need Champions League qualification more than others. I think Aston Villa, with the way they've spent money, they need to finish in that top.
No, if they want to continue, if they want to finish what they've started, I think definitely. Because Unai Emery's done some great work, but he's also been backed, which is fair play to the club.
Yeah.
They've also made some. There's been some astute business. People like Daniel Marlin, who wasn't really on my radar, has come in and really made a difference, and he's shown that he's a Premier League level player. Unfortunate that Rashford got injured both for Villa as well as United, because I think we would have wanted him to kick on. But only a loan move, so he'll go back. But yeah, if they want to finish what they started, they're going to have to keep getting into those Champions League spots.
Nottingham Forest are also in with a shout, which would be a great story. I think their owner, the thing with their owner has sort of been cleared, because he was more concerned about the injury.
Yeah.
And then you've got established clubs like Chelsea and City, who are up there. Who I think Chelsea fans are sort of a little bit in limbo, because it's a nothing season for them. I don't think they really believe in Maresca. And that he can win them anything.
Yeah, they've got a bit of a problem there as well with Maresca, because I think if he gets them into the Champions League, I think people will be pleasantly, not surprised, but pleasantly happy. I think they'll be satisfied, but I don't think with much conviction.
No.
I would compare it to sort of Ten Hag winning the FA Cup for United last season. It's like, but who else do you get, and how do you the problem? What a lot of people don't realize is in the modern game, it's not like back in the day. You'd bring in a new manager and he would just get the guys motivated and smack them on the head like a Sam Allardyce, and would just get them playing for him and have a couple of different profiles of players and chuck them on and try and change games. But football's become so much more holistic now, and I think particularly if you're trying to play any sort of modern brand of football, you can't, every time you get rid of a coach and his way of thinking, you are starting from scratch.
Yeah.
And I think that can put you back, or should put you back. If you're serious about building something for the long term, it should put you back before it kind of gets you moving in the right direction. So, but you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't with Maresca, I think.
No, absolutely. One forgets almost that he had such a positive start to the season and was up in the title race in December, and then just sort of dropped off. So it can either be a step on next season where maybe they really do challenge, which would be surprising, but they have the pockets for it, they have the players for it, or they could drop off completely and just fight for Champions League qualification again. Talking about Champions League, talking about the Europa League, we've got the final coming up on Wednesday, United versus Tottenham in Bilbao.
Yes.
What are we saying, eh?
I think it's very interesting that if you look at all the pundits speaking about this game, no one's really able to call it. And I think that's a very unique scenario, because I think just because the teams are both so short of form, they've both had such disappointing seasons.
I mean, we're talking about 16th versus 17th
of the Premier League,
in the Premier League here. And I don't think in European competition this has probably ever happened, that two clubs that are struggling so much in the league end up in a European final. It's cup competition, so they're deservedly there because it's a different game. But it's hard to, like you said, it's hard to pick a winner, just because they both haven't shown great form that you could pick anyone.
Yeah.
So then it's more like who rocks up on the day.
Yeah, my natural inclination, and not only because I'm a United fan, but my natural inclination is United. And the reason I say that is because of the amount of winners that we have in our squad. You've got people like Casemiro. You've got people that have won trophies before. Last season, despite everything, we managed to beat City in the FA Cup final. The season before, we won the League Cup despite not having a great season. So we seem to be able to show up to games. We've had big match temperament in the last couple rounds as well, particularly against Lyon. That was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And we have very strong personalities like your Maguires and Casemiro's who have performed on the biggest stages. So that's my natural inclination.
Yeah.
I want to ask your opinion. So what happened is we both played on Friday to give ourselves a bit more rest. Spurs going with a complete B lineup, losing pretty comfortably in the end to Villa, and Ruben Amorim actually deciding to rotate the team, but play the core players that you would expect to kind of be part of the action on Wednesday. And actually having a good 60-minute spell, but ending up losing to Chelsea. What is your guesstimation or estimation into what is the better
What's
approach?
the better approach? I would have thought to rest the team is a better approach, just because, I mean, both of them would have gone into those games probably expecting to lose. I don't think anyone expects to lose, but playing Chelsea and playing Villa, when you're in the form that you are, you're probably going to lose. If you're a player playing that game, I don't know how much benefit you draw from that. So I would have probably rested an entire team, sent out the under-23s, given them a shot, and let the others sort of really concentrate on prepping for Wednesday night's game. But I guess there's also something to be said to staying in your rhythm, to getting minutes in your feet.
I think Ruben also, I'm trying to put myself in his shoes. I think he's also still believes that the team is trying to progress and learn how to play his style.
Right.
And I think maybe there's a bit of and I think if you've watched United over the last few weeks, you have seen progress in the general identity and the structures in the side, even though the results haven't been there. You definitely feel like, okay, I'm starting to see patterns that I recognize. And I think there is an argument to be made that, you don't want to interrupt what seems, at least, or feels like progress within the way the team plays. On the injury front, United have a couple players that sort of are 50-50s, but they're not part of I don't think they're going to be deciding factors in whether we win or not. Lenny Yoro is probably the biggest. He's had a great few games at centre back, but we've got a lot of cover at centre back now, and I think people that can at least do a job. But Spurs really struggling. Kulusevski's out, Bergvall's out. Madison's out. So if you'd asked a lot of Spurs fans a few weeks ago, they would have told you that those three guys probably start into that final. So interesting to see. I've spoken to a couple of the Spurs lads. One of them very confident, Wayne. He says he's not worried at all, which is an interesting one.
That is an interesting one.
But Alex a little bit more apprehensive. So let's see.
It's the big thing about this is the financial implications of winning the Europa League, because you get qualification for the Champions League. And I think for United more so than Tottenham, you need that money. You need that money because I think when one talks about United's finances, it's all doom and gloom. I know Jim Radcliffe has come out and said how bad things are. And if you want to improve the squad, you don't only need that money, but you need the allure of at least playing in the Champions League. Because for a player to look at the United project right now, sure, you can say Amorim's going to have an off season to really get his point across, get new players in, but you're going to have to really show a lot of belief in him and what he's capable of if you're going to choose the United project without Champions League football.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I think it's weird because on the one side, I do feel like Ange has so much more to lose. Because I think if Ange Postecoglou doesn't win, he's gone. He's definitely gone.
I would say he's gone regardless.
Yes, but I think if you look at his managerial career, if he goes off the back of a Europa League win, he probably gets a job.
Yeah, relatively
easily, and he walks away and he say, "Hey, listen, I said I promised a trophy in my second season. I've given Spurs their first trophy in over 30 years.
Yeah,
you can mean nothing," as
as Lothar Matthäus
would say. And that's the irony of it. And I think the project United are looking at building is far more under pressure. I think Spurs as a club kind of will continue to plod along.
They will.
They're also very well run, and they've got their new stadium already. And I do think that it doesn't set United back, but it probably adds 2 transfer windows to United's plan to try and get back to where they want to be. A lot of rumors, and this is from a little bit sort of, to a certain degree, credible parts of the sort of X universe. So not completely conspiracy theorist-like, but it is common knowledge that 3 months into next season, towards the start of next season, an option for the Glazers to sell the whole club, including Sir John Ratcliffe's part of the club, is triggered. And they have that. Then they have a 3-month period to sell the club completely. Okay. There's a lot of talk about what might happen if they might not decide to sell up if we don't qualify, and just sell it to some of the Qataris that were circling or whatever. So that's an interesting angle as well. I don't know if that's the case, but you would have to think that it's definitely going to set us back. And the question is, how do you fill that gap?
As a neutral, coming up to Wednesday's game, I think just because of Liverpool's history with United, I don't think I could wish a title for United. I'm not a big lover of Spurs either. Can you hope for good football? I guess just because it's a final, usually it's a bit more cagey. I think with what's on the line outside of the actual final, that's what's going to add the spice to Wednesday night's game. If there's a way for the game to end in a draw and no one gets a trophy, I would prefer that.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I think it's going to be one of 2 things. This is my prediction. Either because Spurs play a very high line and quite open, it's either going to be a high scoring game. Yeah, I think it might just be a complete slugfest of like back and forth.
I'd love that.
That could be pretty good. Or unfortunately, I think you might see extra time and like the 2 teams sort of limping over the line to try and more of a sort of like a game of chess, which would be the less preferred option because I do not want to go into penalties.
No. It's also a week. It's also a school night.
Oh yeah, Thursday. I've already said, listen, don't talk to me before 12.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
Review it next week.
I will go out on a limb though.
Yeah,
I think United win it 4-2.
Okay. You've heard it here first, everyone. Put your money on United. I will not be. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you all next week.
Goodbye.